Hi, welcome back again to Share with Charlotte podcast for another episode. And this time we're going to continue the conversation with fatherhood. And we have a special guest with us, which is Robert Lewis Jr., who we want to speak a little bit more on fatherhood within, and this time we're going to direct our attention to blended families. Because really, if anything, a lot of our families are made up of blended family, which means there are either going to be some stepchildren in the home, stepfather in the home of that sort. So one thing that I admired about this young man, and that is he's been married for 11 years,
Oh,
and I've seen him actually because he is my nephew, but I've been so impressed with how he stepped into that role as stepfather. But I wanted him to share more about that because let me just speak a little bit before we move into that segment of that, and that is a lot of it says 60 to 70% of when you have a blended family, they do not succeed, they fail. And between 30 to 35 of all marriages are gonna fail. But within all of that, that's a 60 to 70% are made up of blended families, which means most people are not with their natural parents as they're being raised, but most of them are being raised by a blended family. And so, but there's a struggle with that, and so why do so many fail and then only a few that actually succeed? And there's a reason. But I think right now, I think Robert has that formula that seemingly has worked for him for these 11 years. And I've just been in awe and just watched him over these 11 years with his family and just wanted to just share because and I'm hoping that the audience of women and men that are made up of these listeners are tuning in and taking notes as to what works. And of course, we'll speak about also what does not work. And we just want to see more families come together and not only just be in a household, but be in a healthy household where kids can be made to feel loved and connected with both families. And so why don't we go ahead and get started with what that is? And that is, why don't we go ahead and meet who this Robert Lewis is, and he can tell us more about himself as well as his family.
okay. Wow. I feel like I got some big shoes to fill now since I got
You're
the
feeling
magic
them.
formula.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure about the magic formula, but I just look at examples of what I want it to be as a father, and I follow it. That that's I hate to make it seem like it's that simple, but that's what I did.
What
So
about, tell us a little bit about when you met your wife and what drew you to that relationship?
Man, make a long story short, we met on Facebook.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Okay. Social
she, she
media.
yeah, she was a friend of a friend, and my friend, her name's Tamika. She would always post like engaging topics on Facebook, and we would both be on there commenting, and we seemed to both think outside the box. Um, so I guess that was when I first noticed her. Um, but that went on for months, and then eventually, um, I had sent her a private message because I saw where she was from, so I wanted to know if she knew some of the people that I knew, uh, and she did. And then a couple of more months went by, and she ended up sending me a message when I changed my profile picture to an actual picture, uh, and she commented on my picture, and from that point forward, we probably talked a little bit more frequently via Facebook Messenger, and then after a week, probably we exchanged numbers, and it kind of took off from there.
So when you met your wife, which is Taisha, um, and all that being said, because I know you had a son, you had a young son, and she had
Mhm.
a young daughter. And of course, as you became more interested in the dynamics of that relationship, um, why her as opposed to, because it's all about how they could come together and blend together when you decided this is going to be your wife.
Okay. Um, Ooh, why her? Uh, we had similar ideals, we had similar um, goals, passions. She from a parenting standpoint,
Mhm.
I saw how she treated JL, and that attracted me to her. Obviously, I hate to say it, baby T was easy. Uh, I'll never forget the first time I talked to her on the phone. This is probably I think she was turning 2, and she got off the phone and said, "I love you, Mr. Raphael."
That's
And
beautiful.
oh man, that tickled me. That tickled me to my core.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I will say from our perspective, because we met um, when they were younger, I guess it made the dynamic a little bit easier. They were still being molded per se into the people that they would grow into now. JL being sophomore in college, Tiana getting ready to graduate from high school next year. So I think that was a good part of it. I mean, we still had growing pains.
Right, of course.
That they were still their own two individual selves, both of them up to that point being raised as only children. So that was it made it interesting, let's say.
And one being a boy, and of course, one being a girl. You know,
Hmm.
that sort of thing too. My next question to you is, when you initially married and then trying to put that family together, because I remember, JL, your son was living in Florida at the time. So
Hmm.
you only had at that moment really on a full-time basis was really the daughter.
Hmm.
And but as I watched you over the years, I mean, if anybody could just from the outside looking in, would never tell who were step parents or who was actually parents. I mean, you guys really found that place of oneness. And one reason I was when I was speaking with you earlier, and I was just thinking to label this podcast, and I was thinking fatherhood with blended family when two lanes merged together. Because you walking in, you came in, she's came in on a lane, but you guys merged together into one lane. Anything that you can share that, how do you get to that one lane when you really come in as two?
Um, I didn't necessarily eh, eh, I didn't necessarily force myself
Mm.
try to come in, dominating the scene per se. But one of the things that I learned, along the way is just lead with love. Uh,
Like that, lead
Ultimately,
with love. That's good.
uh, yeah, kids will see that genuineness, um, come from you. So even though, and, because ultimately, eventually, it's gonna have to be some tough love, uh, but you don't want to start there, you know.
Yeah.
So I would say that was it initially. Um, if I remember correctly, I think so. We got married. I think JL was 8, Tiana was 5. So we had that dynamic for probably another 3 years when it was basically, me, Taisha, and baby T. And then that following summer, JL was no, JL came to visit during Thanksgiving. That's when we let the cat out the bag in terms of us expecting another one.
I remember.
Um, right, right. So 3 ended up being born that summer, and then JL came to live with us that fall. So that's when everything was quote unquote complete.
Yeah. You had the
So
complete family at that point.
right, right, right.
Mhm.
Which, and to be honest, I always knew that JL would be coming to live with us. Um, I had talked with his mom, um, and I always said, once he got to middle school, he would be here. But JL had different plans. He started to get a little too big for his britches.
Yep. It happens. It happens.
and his mom decided to send him a year early, which of
Okay,
course I was totally fine with.
exactly. Why do you think that's
Mhm,
important though? And I'm just gonna switch it a little bit because he is a boy.
mhm,
Um, and now he's coming into his own. I mean, because and you're his father. And I know you wanted to get him a year later, but it came a year early. Why
mhm.
would you why would that so important to you that you have your son? So and you raise him on a full-time basis.
I've always been of the mindset that, um, a woman can't teach a boy to be a man the same way that a man can't teach a girl to be a woman. I can give insight, I can give opinion, but I've never been a woman. So who am
Mhm.
I to tell you how to be one?
Yes.
Um, so I've always had the same mindset in terms of boys and women. Like you've never been a man, so it would be very difficult for you to tell a boy how to be a man.
Yes. Women can share something, but the one person, you're right, the true source of all of that really would be the one who knows, who lived it, who's experienced it, in
Mhm.
order to truly have all insights as to what they truly is.
Right.
Exactly. But I remember as you were speaking of that, when all that took place, and now you had your family and it's complete. And so, but now it wasn't just you in there, it was also your wife in there. So now you're a family of five. So you
Mhm.
went from, yeah, so you started in initially a family of three, and then you went to a family of four, and now you're a family of five. What was
Right,
that?
right. It was kind of funny how, I'm gonna take it back to when we first told the kids that we were expecting or they were gonna have a little brother. And both of them were like, no, no, why? Aren't we enough? They're like, why do we have to have another baby? We don't want them. Like, we're not changing diapers. I'm
Yeah,
not babysitting. Like, it was all this negative.
yeah,
And clearly, we knew that things would change, once three came, and it did. And it did. If anything, I would say that three probably got them closer together.
mm, that's
They
beautiful.
they were once he was here, they were both excited about being a big brother and big sister. Granted,
And matter of fact, little baby T, she took on that nurturing role and just, I mean, she was
yeah,
always with him. So you guys are really like one big team, which is, I mean, really what family miss is that teamship, of everybody being into that level of oneness. Um, but I
you
saw
know what?
you. Mhm.
Not to cut you off. One thing that I didn't say that I will plug in is that we've never said step this, step that.
Beautiful, beautiful,
Uh, it was always that's your brother, that's your sister.
good,
You
good,
know, you know.
good.
Eventually, baby T end up calling me dad.
Yes,
JL calls Taisha mom.
yes,
Um, and not in a disrespectful way to, his mom,
right.
but because I remember, and this is just a statement of maturity. I remember when JL was first born, me and his mom weren't together anymore. And I explicitly said, I was like, my son will never call another man dad. Like, I'm his dad. That'll never happen. Uh, but as you grow and you mature, it's like, I'm confident in my manhood. I'm confident in fatherhood.
There you go.
If she does ultimately end up with a person, I would hope that JL would feel, that love for him that he would call him dad, you know, something to that effect.
That's good.
Um, so my perspective changed.
No, that's
You grow and
good.
mature into
Yeah.
into those things. So
Why do
uh,
you think men have that mentality initially, and some never change, of course, that sense of territorial, even with their own child in that sense. Why do you think that coming from the father?
I think it's all part of nature.
Mhm.
Men naturally are I don't want to say dominant, but protective. Um,
Position and title.
don't necessarily want to use entitled, but we're protective, we're territorial.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh when we have children, we're protective of our children. Like I'm dad, nobody else dad. I'm dad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's my house. Nobody run my house. Can't nobody
Yes.
tell me what to do in my
Yep.
house.
Yep.
Uh, because even
Territorial. Mhm.
yeah, because even um early on in our marriage, um, me and Tiana's dad had some issues because he felt as if he was calling shots, and
Mhm.
it's like, "Mm, well,
Yeah.
I appreciate you,
Yeah.
but no,
No,
no, thank
because
you."
it's your house.
Correct,
It's right, your domain. Exactly.
correct,
Exactly.
and
Advice would
and
you give though? Because that one thing that you said that just stuck home with me, you said I led with love. So what advice would you give not only to the men who are stepping into that role or even in that role and maybe even struggling with it? What advice could you give them?
um, yeah, I go back to the lead with love. Like try not to differentiate between your own biological children and children in love, as we say. Treat everybody fairly, you
Mhm.
know, and there are differences between boys and girls, but treat everybody on the same equal playing field. Like, don't do for one that you won't do for the other. Do for all. Don't show love for one when you're not showing love for the other. Distribute that love equally. Now, granted, that love may look different depending on who the individual is. Um, you know, somebody might be, you know, granted, I'm a physical touch person, but neither one of my kids are physical touch. Like three, well, no, I won't say that. Three is three loves a good
Baby.
hug,
Mhm.
but baby T and JL, nah, get away from me. Get away from me. They stiff arm me real quick.
They know that love is there though, and that's the main
Right,
thing.
right,
And
right.
then on the flip side of the coin, and we have, because sometimes there are fathers who in the home and they really want to take that role all in, and but the woman is the one that creates that wall and not allowing them to step into that role wholeheartedly and with greater fullness. What advice or what can you share or what can you tell them? Because for you to be all that you were in that relationship, that means
Mhm.
your wife had to allow that door to be open
Right.
because of yeah. So what can you share for those women struggling with that them being the one that's territorial? These are my kids.
Mm.
You didn't have anything to do with them. Where I birthed them. I this. You're not the father. I'm just saying you may be my husband, but you're not the father. I'm just saying there's a
Right.
lot of the home, even within itself, between the two, is a tug of war. So what do you and how do you address that with a woman or a mother who's struggling with that?
I guess I moved a little slower into that role per se.
Mhm,
Like I didn't want to come off as a dominant force.
mhm.
Not granted, I might be a little more so now, but
Well, you've been
um,
11
but
years, okay?
right. I've
Yeah.
established myself, but
Yes, yes.
you know, actions. Lead with love. Um, Love is an action word.
Mhm.
It's not something that you say. It's something that you do. Uh, and just show that you're there in love, and the things that you say are in love. That's the best advice I could give, and just have the conversation. Be open about it. If you are stepping up in that role as a father, husband, dad, um, be that, be that, and then I think that, as you're putting action into that world, into that role, um, I think the woman would take notice, that you're not there to be malicious, you're not there to be, controlling or dominant. Um, you're there because you want the best for your family, and that family is all inclusive, not exclusive, inclusive.
Inclusive, yes. I like what you said when you said you moved, your movement wasn't slow. I mean, it wasn't like you leaped into it.
Mhm,
It's like it was a gradual step into it. And I do think sometimes the other parent that's coming into a relationship like that or into a marriage like that, they want to take that leap as if I came in ready. And
mhm,
that's scary to some people because you're moving too fast. You know, we could have been dating, now we're married, and now this role is real. But like I said, it's a slow movement. It's not something you pounce on somebody with. You
mhm.
got to allow it to marinate, but you lead them with love and let your actions speak, which expresses your true intentions.
Right.
Based on what you do, and allow that person to observe so that they can become more trusting of you, because that is huge. It's a huge role that you're stepping into, and you have to
Mhm.
have that level of trust that I can trust you with that role and to be
Absolutely.
all in with my children on
Mhm,
either place, whether that's a father bringing in a woman or the mother bringing in a father. It doesn't matter, but
mhm.
their role is still the same. Let me show you who I am and what I'm made of. And as I give you more of me showing you, you open that door open a little wider. And then it's a little, next thing you know, the door is swung open. Because now
Right,
I've earned that. And I think
right.
that's really important.
And I will say this, I know that, the nurturing aspect of parenthood comes natural to women more so than it does to men. But, as a man, I would say, especially when looking at raising a daughter, you would have to embrace that a little more. And it's a learning process, you know. You said I got the magic formula, but I'm still learning myself. It's it's
Good.
it's, it's stuff that I learned about being a dad, about having a daughter, about having a son every day, and I made it. I got one out. I got one out.
Yes. And he's doing good.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
He is. He
He's
he
doing
isn't
good.
he isn't coming back.
Yeah. Yes. He don't want to come back.
That part.
He
That
wants
part.
to fly. He wants to fly.
Mhm.
I wanted to ask you this too, and that is, and I know there's times you have to show tough love because it isn't always the sweetness of it. So how do you manage that as a parent coming into, and these are not the kids that you naturally created. So how do you, so that other parent can still trust your method and how you deal with the tough love? Because everybody's method is not the same.
Right, right.
Hmm.
And I thought, well, I would say, Taisha was able to see how
Hmm.
I was with JL and him being older.
Hmm.
So that was kind of like, even though JL is a boy, of course, but to a certain degree, I set an example of what my expectations were as a father. And then, obviously she saw how I was with JL, and then, you know, doing basically the same stuff with, baby T. So it wasn't anything foreign per se. So I guess I had a leg up in that circumstance because she was able to see how I was as a father uh, prior to, just putting baby T in the mix.
Gotcha. How much of
Um,
that do
so
you do? Do you actually discuss beforehand? And walking into a marriage. The parenting dynamics of it all to see how close you guys to be, where you feel like this is a good fit. You're not so far out there, and I'm not so far over here, but I can see this being something that we can work together with. That
mhm,
because and I want to say this, and that is, I think when two people are dating, they know that there's kids, But I think a lot of time what people focus so much on is each other and not as much as they should with the children. And so when you bring it all into and then you create this family because now we're married, now we are together. And then now you want to sit down and you want to discuss things, or you want to discuss things that things happen, but you don't take the time you should prior to the relationship to get a good feel for how that would actually fit into place. And it's kind of like you put the cart before the horse. We'll get married, then we'll figure it out. And that is definitely not the way you want to go into a marriage with a blended family. And we just figured as we that's why 60, 70% really don't marriages do not make it. They fail
Mhm.
when there's a blended family involved.
Well, I think that, to be honest, I think we moved relatively quickly.
Hmm.
Me and Taisha probably started dating. Um, I can't even say that. Like we were talking seriously, let's say
Hmm.
that. Because, at the time she was living in Houston, I was living in Dallas. So we would come back and forth to visit. So obviously, she wouldn't bring Tiana with her up here.
Right. Hmm.
But when I went down there, obviously we would all be together.
Hmm.
So it wasn't that, you know, baby T didn't see me at the time. She saw who I was, knew who I was. But 6 minutes, about 6 months after we talked, she moved to Dallas. So it made it real.
And she was here.
Hmm,
Yeah.
hmm. That
And
was a
how
huge
long
thing.
you guys married after that, after she moved here?
She moved here April of 11. We got engaged September of 12, and then
Okay.
got married May 26th, 13. So
Okay. She was here for a minute. And
yeah, yeah, she was
you was able to
about a
see a
year and a
lot of
half
that.
after we got engaged. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, that's not bad. From 11 to 13. And then you already knew her 6 months prior. It's not bad.
Hmm.
No.
Yep.
I mean, you marinated the relationship. It wasn't just like 6 months and I knew right away and we were married. You
Oh
gotta have
no.
some time together to kind of sort some
Oh
things
yeah.
out. Mhm.
For
But I
me
do
anyway.
want, oh no, I mean, she fit in immediately. I mean, yeah, we already knew that was gonna be your wife. We knew that.
I'm glad y'all knew because
We knew that. We knew that. But I did
okay.
want to just say too, though, I know for you, you guys may not have had to have that, but I do want to encourage the listeners to have that talk. Um, because everybody is not the best fit. It may be a good fit for you, but you're not the only one in the picture. You got to consider the
Right.
children as well. And because people have their own way of doing things. They was brought up a certain way, or their experience could be so far different than what your experience was. And maybe even sometime even that person can even teach you some things that maybe their way could even be better than your way. Because I know we're all a product of a lot of time of our own personal experiences in life. But we can
Hmm.
always be taught something different and better. And
Right.
and that
And
we
I,
have to
I
be
guess I
open to
kind
that.
of I didn't mean to skate that because you
No,
did
no.
ask me what that conversation was. And you know what? I don't ever remember having a distinct conversation
Mhm.
about parenting. It was more so, like I said earlier, like kind of like a lead by example. Like, she saw how I was with JL. I saw how she was with Tiana. Um, Now I will say I remember we took a family trip
Mm,
we took the kids to SeaWorld. So that was the first trip that we took all together.
okay.
And I remember that at that point I was like, this might work. This might work. Because they were all together, right? I could see
Yeah.
how the family dynamic
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And I
That's
was like, yeah,
good.
this is what's up right here. It's all right.
So with that being said, what you just said, then you can't just date the woman. You got to include the kids if you really want to
Oh
see what
yeah.
that really looks
Oh
like
yeah.
and feel like. Um,
Funny
and
enough that you said that,
mhm.
I uh had a conversation with one of your sons and I said that. I was like, you know what? When you choose to marry a woman that has kids, you're marrying those kids.
Yes,
Those
you are.
kids instantaneously become your responsibility. if they're
exactly,
in your household. Now,
exactly.
we're not talking about kids that are grown and gone,
Yeah, exactly.
uh, but if they have young children, those are now your children. Those are your
Mhm.
responsibility because they're in your household.
They're in your household, under your roof and in your domain, so yes.
Right.
Um, and like you said before, you didn't use that step word, they were your children, you know, and you took that, and for you to take that label off in a way, you took full ownership on what that was. Um, and so that alone um, step it up a notch as far as your responsibility and your accountability to those kids because they're all yours, and you didn't distinguish any different between JL or her children that she gave birth to. They were
Right.
all your children, right? And that's the beauty of it because, like you did that, kids take notice of that, and they see that you don't make a
Mhm.
difference because you came to live with us and now we're together, but you didn't separate the two on how you treated them. And that's because one thing about kids, they are so observant. They
Oh yeah.
look at and observe everything.
Oh
We as
yeah.
adults
Oh
may miss some things, but kids very seldom miss anything. They
yeah.
look and a lot of times they're looking because they're searching. They're waiting just to see if this gonna be a certain way because they want it to be right and anything can throw them off. So you have to be
Yeah.
real careful when you with those kids. Yeah.
I think it really got real to me when I had to have a heart to heart with Baby T's dad. Like certain things that he was doing was negatively affecting her,
Yeah.
and I could see it.
Yeah.
And I was like, ah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that was tough. That
Yeah.
was tough.
Yeah.
Uh, and not only was it affecting Baby T, it was affecting Taisha too.
Yeah. Because she's
So
watching it. Yeah.
Eh,
Yeah.
right. So at that point, when it again, like I said, I'm a protector of my household.
Hmm.
When it started affecting my household, I
Hmm.
felt like, yeah, and that was her dad.
Yeah.
That was her father. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, we got to have a heart to heart. We got to have a talk.
Yeah.
You know.
And the beauty of it is that you knew that this father, which is a natural father, has been in her life much longer than you've been in it. But
Hmm.
as a responsibility that I owe her, I have to say something. And it's like and and as the man of your house, and they would say, well, why didn't the mother say something? But you want to be the man of your house. And so, and I'm speaking to one man to another man. you know, this is what you're doing to your daughter, which is also like my daughter. She's my daughter too. And I love her. You love her. I love her. Um, I think that was bold because honestly, a lot of men may not have taken that well. And you don't know. And to be honest, even stepping into that, you don't know how he's going to take it. You don't know what the outcome or his reaction or his response. But as a father, as a true father, which I'm saying that you want to be to her, I'm going to take that shot. I'm gonna take that leap anyway without even knowing the outcome or how he's gonna respond because I love you enough to take that leap. That's huge because you would have
And
done that
even
for your own son. So
right,
you're doing it for now for your daughter, who to you is like she is your daughter. And so
100%.
I'm gonna take that leap and take a shot. And but Bob, that is huge, Robert. Seriously, to do that because you're fighting for her to be okay, for her to be healthy, for her to be to give her the best that really that life should offer her. And he was taking something away from her. And you couldn't just watch that happen and not do something or say something.
Hmm.
That's
And
huge. Yeah.
even that conversation, um, it wasn't combative. Like I didn't come for him. It was
No.
more so, hey man, let me talk to you.
Yeah.
Even that conversation was in love.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
oh, it's
there
all
was
in love. Sure. Yeah.
yeah,
But you
you know,
still didn't know because you can say it. Sometimes it doesn't matter how you spend something, it's gonna be taken out of context. It's gonna be, but you don't know. But I know
True
you
statement.
came, like you said, I came out of love. I spoke with out of love, but
Mhm.
but you never know where somebody head is, where their mindset, um, because you don't know. But I know just knowing you as who you are, you came and you came correct. And that was just out of love. And not only for just her, but their relationship. Because that can tarnish their relationship, based on things that people do. And you just want the best of her to have the best of both of you, not just for you, but also from him. So it's the same thing. But I did want to share a little bit more and just kind of drive it home, for mothers that are listening. And that is, I can only hope that, we all look for a village. Like we say, it takes a village. It takes more than just
Mhm.
yourself to raise your kids. Um, it takes, and the people you allow in your village are people that you trust, people that you know have the best interest of your child or your children. And so if you allow this man or this woman in your house, then she's part of your village. So naturally, you wouldn't want to bring anybody in your village that you wouldn't trust wholeheartedly with your kids, who wouldn't
That
have
part.
the best interests of your children, because now they are part of your village, and you carefully select those people that you bring in as part of your village, and you don't just let anybody in your village, and so but all of that has to be considered when you bring somebody into your home to help be a part of your family dynamics of your household. You have to be real careful who that is and what they bring into your home. And I would
Mhm.
think that if you have brought whether the husband or the wife, that you really have checked that they've checked those boxes, because they're not just coming in just for you, they're coming in also to help you raise your children. And so, but to have that wall built up, because even if you have boys, and just use me as an example, um, and to bring in another man, I have to feel like they have my children best interest at heart. And even if you have even sons and you choose to bring in another woman, yeah, she can't teach your son how to be a man, but she can sure bring in that nurturing side of her, on that loving side of her, on what it is, um, to how a man, which he's supposed to be showing how to love a woman, so that your boys can mimic what they look like, on what
Mhm.
that love look like and respect look like, from another woman being in the household. So it's all can be something very teachable moments for your kids and
Yeah.
what they look like. So it's just nice when you can bring in that other person into your home and make that blended family, that you can teach your children something what looks healthy in a household as opposed to unhealthy. And the worst thing I think you can do, Robert, is when you have two parents in a blended family and all they do is fight and argue. And kids are watching that,
Mhm.
and that family dynamics of just it being dysfunctional, where it just and you pray it doesn't get to the point of volatile, but sometimes it does. I mean, I've spoken about that you can have abuse in the home. Um, but you want the kids to have the best of what a family look like with two parents. And
Mhm.
so, and if you bring them in as part of your village, then there should be a level of trust, because why would they even be in your household if you don't have some level of trust on what
Yeah,
that
yeah,
around your children, right?
yeah. I was gonna button it up just like that. If you have if you make the decision uh, on a partner for yourself,
Yeah,
when you have children, then you're also making that decision for your children because they
exactly,
can't make it for themselves.
exactly, exactly. And they entrust you to make the best decision for me,
Right,
because
right.
because because the parent are the one who has the last say. What you say is going to happen is really what's going to happen. And so,
Mhm.
and you're right. Um, I did want to say this, and that is, um, kids are so affected by by what they experience and what they see. And we all want the best in terms of where our kids are emotionally, mentally, physically to be their best self. You know,
Mhm.
that wholesomeness of what family is. And then you want them to take that where I've helped create this family dynamic of what's healthy and wholesome so that you can now mimic that into your own family and even make it even better. But what you don't want is for a kid to be to don't know what love look like, you know, what family look like. And and a lot of times you step into a role where I mean I it's just beautiful the fact that a lot of what other people have seen in relationships and marriages and blended family, um, you escape that because it can get truly ugly. I mean, like really ugly between children and the other parent.
Oh boy,
Really ugly. Yeah, yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah. And that's a good thing. But all I can say is people, and I pray that they make better choices on people that they choose to bring in their household and make it where it's something more healthy and what's wholesome. And I don't care, and I was just joking with somebody about this. If you can get outside the box of what looks good to you to the eyes and see what's within a person, because
Mhm.
that's what's gonna last. All of the beauty of what she is and she brings, that'll fade at some point. And even what the guy, how he's tall, he's fine, he's this, he's all that'll fade. But look within a person, look at their hearts, look at where their minds are, you know, and where their spiritual beings are, because God knows we need to pour more of God into our children,
Yes,
more of who
Lord.
Jesus is, more love, to give
Yes,
your kid
Lord.
a balance of what's spiritual, um, and bring it to the forefront because that's how you truly learn to love is to know who he is. And I know
Mhm.
you and Taisha both are very much in church and you guys have poured that into your children, but that spiritual feeding is so needed to create a balance within your household. It's so needed. You want to speak
Yep.
a little bit on that real quick?
Just give them the same thing that I got. I grew up in the church. I try to make sure that they're, active in the church as opposed to just going.
Mm,
Um, even eh, both of them have come alongside of me in the drama ministry. So both of them have had parts just because I was in it. I was like, hey, we need some extras.
yeah, yeah,
Need you to speak today. So just making sure they active, and we'll do the same thing for three, as he continues to get older. Um, just like the Bible said, teach them up in the way, and they
yeah.
will not depart
Yeah.
from it.
There you go. I love that. I want to say thank you. Um, I appreciate your insight. I really do. All I know is when you have fatherhood, a blended family, where two
Mhm.
lanes can merge into one, then you get a chance to smile a lot on podcast this episode and share your story as to your family that you've helped come together and you've been the father in that household. And that's a beautiful thing, Robert, seriously. And that's why, it's like I was led to speak with you about that because I'm just telling fathers right now and even mothers, but I know this we just celebrated Father's Day. And but to tell fathers, don't give
Mm.
up.
Yes, we did.
Don't give up. Yeah. But lead with love. I love that. Lead with love, not where you're trying to force your way, where you're demanding this, you're demanding that. But lead with love because that's the one thing that is undeniable when people can see the love that you point into your family.
Right.
That's undeniable. You can't even say what you want, but people need to see that. People and women need to trust what that is, so they can believe more in your intentions. And so
Yep.
I thank you for sharing your story of your life. And one thing I want to say that I know you do a lot of, and you call it daddy duties.
Oh.
Yeah, daddy duties. And you even told me that even today. Your daddy duties. And before I even sign off on this with you. Share with just your daddy duty, because that is so vital in how you
Oh my
provide
God.
time with your children.
Oh man, it could be a multitude of things, Just this past weekend, we had Baby T's dance recital, so we did the daddy daughter dance, and we had
Beautiful.
rehearsals for that. Uh, and don't get me wrong, I love it. I love it. Those will be memories that we cherish forever. At least I will. She'll probably be embarrassed
She will.
forever,
She will. Yeah.
uh, but yeah, stuff like that, being able to coach Three's team, um, that's again just memories.
Love
Even
that.
before I was coaching, taking Baby T back and forth to dance and competitions, being there for all their events and activities and going up to the school for good stuff, not bad stuff
Yes.
like me.
Oh, I know. Yeah. But you know what I love about that though, Robert? You wasn't a dad in the household who sat on the sideline. You was on the field the whole time. I'm just saying you engaged. You gave your time. You took the time to be a part of her life. So those memories, when she reflect back, you're in them. And a lot of time what fathers do, especially when it comes to girls, oh, the mother take them. Or even a lot of time, I hate to say it, even with the boys, the mother is the runner. But
Mhm.
you saying like daddy duties, no, I'm running. I'm a run too. I don't just leave it up to your wife, to do the running. I'm gonna run too because it's a shared responsibility. And I think a lot of time where men fall off, fathers fall off, is where they expect the woman to be the one to run. That
Mm.
they don't run enough, or some of them don't run at all. But all of that is part of leading with love, because love is an action word. All of that
Mhm.
is because I love her enough to run. I want to be a
Right.
part of that. So I'm loving on her. As I'm doing these activities, I'm loving on her.
Yep.
That's the difference. It's leading with love. I'm not just gonna be on the sideline and see you when you come home. Come here, give me a hug. No, I'm running with her. I mean, those are your daddy duties. If I'm gonna be a daddy in the home, if I'm gonna truly be the father in the home, then I gotta take it up and I gotta run like she's running. I gotta run too.
Right, right. We
Yeah.
about to get to running right now.
Yeah. And I gotta let you go. So I appreciate you taking the time to do that, because he's running now to get busy again doing the daddy duties. And I want to say thank you for each and every one of you that tuned in to share with Charlotte what deal with fatherhood and a blended family, or two lanes merges into one. And I thank you, Robert Lewis Jr., for being a part of this episode, sharing your story on how truly it can happen. So thank you for
Right.
sharing, and I hope all your listeners tune in to Share with Charlotte podcast, www.sharewithcharlotte.com, and click subscribe, click follow, and be a part of this episode, and continue to follow me. And I look forward to connecting you for the next episode. And thank you so much, Robert.
I
Thank
appreciate it. I
you.
am honored.
I'm honored to have you. Thank you.
All
Bye bye.
right.